Welcome to my shop. My name's Guy, and one of the questions I get asked quite often is about finishing. How do you apply it? What type should I use? What's the best to use? It just goes on and on forever. One of the finishes that's my go-to finish is shellac. There's a lot of good reasons for it. It's very easy to make. It's very easy to apply. It's almost foolproof. It's a natural product, so it's not harmful to the environment at all. And I'm going to show you how I make it. Not necessarily the right way, but just how I make it. I've got all my stuff laid out here in front of me. Let me bring the camera in closer and I'll show you exactly what I'm working with. Well, these are materials you need to make shellac. The first thing, the most obvious, is shellac. I prefer to use shellac flakes. You can get these at any woodworking supply store or online. There's plenty of places to get them. I've got blonde, amber, and garnet shellac here. Blonde is very light, almost clear. Amber has a slight yellowish orange tint, and garnet has a more reddish orange tint. They all have their place and depends on what color you're looking for. The second thing we need is denatured alcohol. Again, this can be bought at just about any home center. This is what's used to dissolve the shellac flakes. There's a coffee grinder. Now this is optional. You don't have to use this, but it helps the flakes dissolve faster. You're also going to need some type of measuring device. This is just a standard postal scale that I use. I use it to measure the weight of the shellac flakes. This is just a container I use to put in it. And a mixing jar. This is what I use to mix the shellac. And of course a measuring device for the denatured alcohol itself. So with that out of the way, let me show you how I actually make this. So the first thing I need to do is I need to measure out shellac. Now I'm going to be making 8 ounces of shellac in a 1.5 pound cut. I'm going to get rid of this for now because I don't need that. What I'm referring to as a pound cut is if you used a full pound of shellac with a full gallon of alcohol, that would give you a 1 pound cut. 2 pounds of shellac to 1 gallon of alcohol is a 2 pound cut. I think you get what I mean. I like to use 1.5 pound. It goes on real nice. It doesn't get goopy. It's just real easy to work with. So the first thing I need to do is I need to measure this out. Now there's a very good resource that I use, which is shellac.net. I have it bookmarked in my web browser, and it has a real nice chart there that tells you how much flakes to use with alcohol to get the desired cut. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to turn my scale on, and I'll put my container on there. I'm going to zero it out. Then I'm going to open up my shellac flakes here, and got some desiccant bags in there I want to take out. I want to make sure it stays dry. Now I need to measure out 1.5 ounces, so I'm going to do that right now. So after I got my shellac measured out, I'm going to get rid of this for a minute. I'm going to put this in my coffee grinder. Now a coffee grinder is nice because I can put this in here, and what it'll do is it'll grind it up real fine. It just helps it dissolve quicker. Shellac flakes can take a while to dissolve completely, sometimes 8, 10, 12 hours. I find that if I do it this way, the shellac's ready to go typically in a couple, 3 hours, maybe less, maybe more. It really depends on the cut, but I'm just going to grind this up. So I've got this ground up now, and it's just really, really light powder. I'm going to pour this in the container. All right, I'll set that aside. Now, next thing I need to do is measure out the alcohol. Now, I mentioned before that I need 8 ounces of liquid to my 1.5 ounces of shellac. Now this doesn't have to be exact, just so you get it close. That's good enough. So I'm just going to take this, I'm going to pour it into my shellac flakes that I've ground up. Let's put a lid on it, make sure it's nice and tight, and start shaking it. Now, they say that you need to come back every 15-20 minutes and shake this to keep it from hardening on the bottom. I just don't have the time to do that or the temperament to do that. So I just stir it really good for a couple minutes. I let it sit, and I come back maybe 20 minutes, a half hour later, an hour, and I keep doing that. I typically make this a day before I'm ready to use it. That way I'm sure the shellac is dissolved completely. Another thing I like to do, and this is unnecessary, but I feel it's necessary, I like to mark the shellac with a label, so I put it in my cabinet. If I don't use it all, I know what it is and when I made it. This should be good for anywhere from 3 to 6 months. It really depends. If it starts to goop up on the bottom after a couple months, you know it's bad, you can throw it out. I find I get about 5 months out of it, but that's it. Well, that's it. This is a short video because it's a pretty short process. Whole thing takes about 5 minutes, and a couple hours, maybe 4 hours, maybe 6 hours, I'll have a finish that's pretty much ready to use. If you have any questions, as always, please leave them in the comments section below. And if you'd like to see me do another video on how I apply shellac, specifically to applying shellac, also leave a comment below. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.